Hello, my creative friend. In this quick video, I want to explain and help you understand why professional screenwriters tend to be absolutely terrified of AI. It's for us kind of a silly reason, and it actually boils down to something a lot simpler than people think it is. As you know from my previous video, if you've been watching this channel and from last year, I've been afraid of leaning into the AI conversation. And over the past couple of weeks, it has occurred to me that I need to start leaning into it a little bit more to help people navigate and understand this. What I bring to this discussion is literally 25 years of deep diving into creativity, reverse engineering it, figuring out what goes where, not what goes where on which page of your story, but what goes where in the order of taking your idea and turning it into a compelling screen story, refining that story, getting it ready for market, testing it, getting it out to market, all that kind of thing. So because I've gone so far down that rabbit hole, I understand the creative process pretty well at this point, I think. You can be the judge of that yourself by watching the content on this channel, but ultimately I think I have a pretty good handle on the creative process. What I've come to realize over time is that AI is not something that we are going to outsource our creativity to. It's not something that becomes directly competitive with human beings. If we use it effectively, if we use it to its best ability to achieve what we're trying to achieve to our best ability, we want to use that technology to accelerate our own creative journey, our own creativity, finding the stories that only we uniquely can tell based upon our unique life experience, our unique imagination, and be able to bring that to market more and more quickly. So ultimately, when writers, particularly professional writers, particularly at the highest level, express this like shaking fear and hatred and revulsion at the idea of AI, what they're afraid of is that AI is going to replace them. It's a self-protection mechanism. There is nothing to be afraid of in AI if we understand that AI is a tool and not a solution. But if you can only think of AI as a solution, as something that's going to do the work for you, as something that is going to offload. I'm going to make a video coming up here that'll condense this idea called offloaders versus accelerators. If you can only think of the AI as something that is going to offload the creative work, something that you type a couple sentences, it does all the work, bada bing, bada bang, and there's no need for you, the creative writer, anymore. If that's what you think this technology is all about, of course you're going to be afraid of it. You're going to be terrified of it. That would be a terrifying thing to think that this machine, this faceless, soulless, inhuman machine is going to take away my reason for being, my livelihood, the thing that I'm passionate about, everything that I am. Of course, that would be terrifying. But that's ridiculous. That fundamentally misunderstands the point and purpose, the nature of storytelling. The reason you are here in the first place, the stories that have come to your imagination in the first place. If you don't understand the value of those things, then you fundamentally will believe that something like a machine can strip away that value. And that is simply inaccurate. It's not possible. Why? Because the machine will never see what you can see. It will never have the experience that brought you to this very moment, that empowered your imagination with the stories that only you can tell. The stories that only you can tell, by definition, cannot be told by the AI. So if you are afraid of this technology, look inward a little bit. If you are afraid of a machine, what are you really afraid of? What is the real reason you're worried about this machine? What you're worried about is that this machine will be able to tell stories that are better than the stories you can tell. And beyond that, much more importantly than that, there are other writers out there in this world that probably can tell stories better than you can tell stories today, right? The masters. Are you threatened by them? Does the ability for Aaron Sorkin or Quentin Tarantino or Shonda Rhimes to be able to tell an amazing story threaten your ability to have a career? Well, no, that's silly, right? That's their career, right? So why would you be afraid of and worried about this technology? Because you're afraid it's going to be able to tell stories that are more effective than your stories more quickly. The problem with AI from a professional writer standpoint is that it is going to be better than them and therefore take away their livelihood, because the people who would hire them will turn to that because it can do pretty much just as well, and it can do it a whole lot faster. So what is the antidote? What is the key to overcoming this particular problem? Two things. You need to get really good at telling the stories that only you can tell. If you are really good at telling those stories, if you have an intuitive ability to take your ideas that from your head and turn them into a viable, compelling story that audiences would want to watch, that we would enjoy, that we would love, that we would happily pay to go see. If you can do that, you have stories that you can create. There is no competition in storytelling. In my last video, the analogy I used was like a tire. You're not picking a tire for your car that you're going to drive for 10 years and therefore exclude all other tires. You're writing a story that other people can enjoy in addition to the story that I create, or the story that the writer next to you creates, or the story that the AI creates. But if you have a unique voice and something that we can only get from you, if you have developed that skill, that ability, there's no competition here. There's no fear for the AI to take over, except that it can do it faster, that it can do it quicker to a high degree. So a producer who's looking for a material and finds out that you have this idea, that they go, wow, that's a really cool, maybe you pitch an idea. They go, that's an amazing idea. How long would it take you to write that? 6 months, a year, maybe? Give me a year and a half. Okay, I would love to do your idea because that sounds great, but AI can give me something in a day, 3 days, a week. The way to stop being afraid of AI, of this machine taking over and replacing you as a human creative writer, is to develop the ability to tell stories that are just as powerful or more so, particularly because they are told from your unique perspective with your unique voice and vision, the stories only you could tell, and then learn how to do that quickly. This is what I've been teaching for the past 25 years. Everybody's always thought fast screenplay means a screenplay you're going to rush. No, it means develop the ability to be able to tell stories at that level that quickly. Why? Because for 10, 15, 20 years now, I have seen that AI is coming. I want you to have human level skills. Go back and look at my TED Talk a decade ago almost. I'm talking about it in that TED Talk. I knew that this was coming. I wanted to be a part of it. I had hoped to be one of the leading edge people guiding how the AI was being developed, but I couldn't make this business work. And so as a result, it's happened all sort of on the side. Fair enough. Whatever. The way it's worked out is perfectly fine by me. Ultimately, I don't want to be an AI guy. I don't want to be a tech guy. I don't even want to teach screenwriting for all that matter. I want to build an independent film studio that makes multiple films a year with production teams all around the world to launch the careers of writers. Because I believe fundamentally you have hundreds of stories inside you that only you can tell. And we are about to have a technology come online over the coming years that empowers you to be able to tell those stories without asking anyone else's permission. That is a paradigm shift for our industry. The people that don't understand the power of their own unique voice or don't have the skill of being able to turn those ideas into compelling screen stories that audiences would want to watch quickly and intuitively are terrified that the AI is going to take over and replace them because it's going to be quicker at a level that is as good, roughly, as what they do. If you're a commodity writer, One of the reasons we have to switch the way we think about creative writing, specifically in its use of AI. AI is very popular within, let's say, copywriting community, like selling stuff, writing websites and marketing emails and stuff like that. And the reason is because ultimately that stuff, emails to sell you something or a website to try to convince you to buy something or that you would want something, that stuff ultimately is trying to plug into the same basic purchasing responses in the audience. So that technology is kind of bland in those kinds of use cases, but once it sort of figures out how to convince people to buy things, then you just follow a similar formula in order to make that work. Creative writing is different. Creative writing is imaginative. It is an open canvas. We can go in any different direction. And so when AI hallucinates, or it gives you a wrong answer, or it doesn't deliver something that is technically accurate, that doesn't necessarily matter for you as a creative writer if you're using it as a creative tool to help you get where you're trying to go. If you're using it as something to offload to, if you're losing, type a couple sentences and have it spit out a story, and the story's kind of generic and bland and boring, right? Of course, that is not the use case for it. This is why we don't need to be afraid as creative writers. Now, if you were a copywriter, maybe be a little scared of AI, because AI is going to replace the need for you, because these are very simple principles and it's just a matter of finding new creative ways to connect with an audience to try to sell them something. But that's not what we're doing as storytellers. That's not what we're doing as creative writers. And that's why creative writing is a very specific use case. And for creative writers specifically, AI, ChatGPT at the moment, is the ultimate creative writing tool. Just is. But as an accelerator for your human creative writing skills, your human creative writing skills need to get better and better and faster to try to intuitively tap into the stories that only you can tell, which is what I built through Fast Screenplay. Whether you decide to join me or like it or think I'm turning this into a marketing message or no, whatever. At the end of the day, that's what I've been doing for the past 15, 25 years, 15, how long has it been? I don't even want to count. But that's the whole point of it. If we can get you to be an intuitive, creative writer that can very quickly, in a pitch meeting, hear an idea, turn it into a compelling screen story that an audience would love and that exceeds the imagination and expectations of the producer that threw out that idea, if you can do that in a pitch meeting in minutes, you become valuable to that producer. That's why AI is potentially valuable to that producer, because they can spitball the ideas with the AI and come up with their ideas on their own. They still need to create the story. They still need the complexity of taking an audience on an hour-and-a-half narrative journey that gives them emotional ups and downs and delivers a message and everything is thematically relevant and blah, 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 right? Like all of that stuff is still a complex thing. AI is not there yet, but AI will get there. And if you don't have the skills that compete with it when it gets there, that is why you should be terrified of it. So rather than being terrified of it, develop your own unique voice, tell the stories that only you can tell, and learn how to tell them fast. And by fast, I mean intuitive, not rushed, not just spitting words onto the page. I mean tell compelling stories that audiences will love and engage with quickly. That's what I got for you today. Thanks for watching. We will see you in the next video.